Today we're making a pink version of this mini Marchesa dress. Please keep in mind all measurements are based on Olivia's size. She's about 40 inches tall. These are the supplies you'll need. 3 yards of the mat tool, 5.5 yards of the light stretch tool, 3.5 yards of the dark stretch tool, 1/2 inch braided elastic, large safety pins, mini safety pins, matching thread and a needle, sewing pins, and a pair of scissors. Cut 3 yards of the light stretch tool to match the 3 yards of the mat tool. Open them up and layer the mat tool over the stretch tool. Fold it in half with the mat tool being on the outside. Sew through the middle of the open end, leaving 8 to 10 inches on each side. Just to clarify, I layered the mat tool over the stretch tool, folded it in half, and sewed along this seam. Now it's inside out and I folded it inward. There's still a loop. Pin along the top closed end of the fabric, leaving enough room so that our 1/2 inch elastic can loop through. And I sewed along the rim. Once you're at the end, leave about 2 inches unsewn. You're going to loop the elastic through that. Wrap the elastic around the waist of your model, making sure you leave some room to sew it closed. Put a safety pin through one end of the elastic. Reach inside the fold of the tool. To find the opening, use the safety pin to guide it through the width of the skirt. Once you're back at the starting point, you're going to remove the safety pin and sew the elastic closed. Make sure you give enough room to layer it. Once you've sewn the opening closed, slide the fabric over the elastic until it's pretty much even all around.
Wait a second, that was harder than the way that my mom made this one.
The simpler option would be to layer the mat tool over the stretch, fold it in half, sew along the rim, leaving enough room for the elastic, putting the elastic through, and then sewing the seam up.
Back to the program.
We are now done with the skirt. For draping, use 2 yards of light stretch tool and 3 yards of dark stretch tool. Keep the tool folded in half the long way and cut along the fold. Do the same with the dark pink. Separate the 2 halves and take one side and drape it over the shoulder. Let the dark tool touch the ground in the front and have a lot extra in the back. And then we're going to layer the light pink on top. Let the front and the back end of the light tool touch the ground. Continue to do it for the other side. Cinch in, sew right at the shoulder. Now that the fabric is lined up, I marked the halfway mark between the light pink tool with a safety pin, and I'm going to hand stitch to keep it in place. Make sure you go up and down a little bit. This is how it looks when it's done, and you're going to do the same to the other side as well. For the hand sewn flowers, you'll need 1/2 yard of the light stretch tool and 1/2 yard of the dark stretch tool, the needle and thread, and a pair of scissors. Keep folding the stretch tool into halves until it's about 4 to 5 inches wide and cut off a section. After that, just make the circle. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're gonna do the same for the light pink tulle too. You can layer about 6 to 8 pieces on top of each other. I like to scatter it. You can even use light and dark and mix it up. Fold it and cinch it. Use needle and thread to sew through the bottom. You just play around with it until you're happy with what your flower looks like. You can also grab a pile of 6 and fold it into a triangular shape. Cut the ends into a scallop shape. It's pretty thick, so it might take a few cuts. Scatter it on top of each other. Fold and sew the bottom just like we did before. You're going to need 9 flowers in total. With your pieces of draping, hand stitch flowers onto the shoulder. Stitch 4 over one shoulder and 2 on the other. Use a mini safety pin for the last 3 flowers. Drape the pieces over the shoulder. Make sure the front ends touch the ground. On the back of the dress, take the dark tulle and twist it just a little bit. Crisscross it. Wrap it around to the front of the dress. Crisscross again. Wrap it back around. Tie it into a bow or double knot it. Trim the ends if you need to. Adjust the front. Attach the last 3 flowers to the waist. And we're done!
Yay!
You can find written directions on meethaha.com.